Discover Benin, 10 interesting facts you may not know about this West African country. Benin, officially referred to as the Republic of Benin, is a country located in West Africa. It was formerly known as Dahomey. Benin is bordered by Togo to the west, Nigeria to the east, Burkina Faso to the northwest and Niger to the northeast. The capital of Benin is Porto Novo, but the seat of government is in Cotonou, the country's largest city and economic capital. The country covers an area of 44,310 square miles and had a population of about 11.49 million as of 2018. French is the official language of Benin. In this video, we will discover 10 facts about tropical Benin. Please subscribe if you haven't and turn on the notification bell to be notified of any new video. Number 1. Ganvie, the Venice of Africa. Ganvie means we survived. Ganvie village is a lake village built in southern Benin on Lake Noku near Cotonou. The village was created in the 16th and 17th century by the Tofanu people who took to the lake to avoid Fon warriors, who would capture people from other tribes as slaves for sale to European traders. The Tofinu people built the village on the lake to take advantage of the religious beliefs that prevented the Fon from attacking people living on water. They created a new home and lifestyle for themselves. The only way to get to the village, move around or get back on land is via wooden boats. About 400 years later, Ganvie has a population of over 30,000 people with a school, hospital and post office. Ganvie villagers are referred to as watermen, while the area is usually called the Venice of Africa. Slave trade ended years ago, but Tofanu descendants still live there to date. There are about 3,000 stilt houses in Ganvie, generally built with red ebony wood, which is resistant to rotting. The walls are made from palm fronds, while previously thatched roofs have been replaced with corrugated roofs. The houses are often expected to firmly stand for between 15 and 20 years, but longer with regular maintenance and replacements. Lake Nokwe is only 1 to 2 meters deep, and its residents sometimes bring artificial soil from the land to make artificial land for the school and for keeping domesticated animals. However, they still haven't developed a working sewage system to address the pollution issue affecting the village. The village's main industries, other than tourism, are fishing and fish farming. Number 2. The Temple of Pythons. In Ouidah, one of the towns in Benin, snakes are revered and worshipped. Ouidah is the country's spiritual capital. The Temple of Pythons is a site of historical and modern symbolism with spiritual practice. The snakes are a totem for voodoo followers. The temple is sacred and has different sections, some of which are accessible to the public while others aren't. There is also a room of 12 square meters housing 50 adult royal pythons. It is commonly visited by tourists since it is along the Route des Esclaves and close to the door of no return. If you plan on visiting, you need to obey the following rules. A. Do not kill any snake. It is completely forbidden to kill a python in Ouidah. At monthly intervals, they are released into town to feed. The pythons feed on animals and are harmless to humans. In case you kill one, you are required to bring back the body to the temple for a series of cleansing ceremonies and burial of the python in the temple graveyard to avoid misfortune. B. Be mentally prepared. There are a lot of snakes in the temple, a lot. You will see them and maybe touch them, they do not bite. Be prepared financially as well, there is a gate fee and several artifacts you can buy and take with you. C. Do not enter the shrines or graveyards. These areas are hundreds of years old and are only accessible by the priest and devotees. D. Be open-minded. Religious or not, follow the rules and all will be well. You may wonder why snakes are given such reverence. This could probably be because of the African culture, which looks at snakes shedding their skin as a symbol of transformation, rebirth, immortality and healing. Number 3. Home to the royal palaces of Abomey. At the heart of the Abomey town in Benin are the royal palaces of Abomey. These are 12 palaces spread over an area of 100 acres. Abomey was the former capital of the Kingdom of Dahomey. It was founded in 1625 by the Fon people who developed it into a commercial and military empire. Between 1695 and 1900 a succession of 12 kings ruled over the powerful empire of the Fon people. At its peak, the palaces could accommodate about 8,000 people. The king's palace was a two-story building called a akuehu, meaning cowrie house. The empire dominated trade with European slave traders by trading prisoners of war with the merchants. The town where the palaces were built was surrounded by a mud wall with a circumference estimated to be 10 kilometers. It had 6 gates protected by a 5 feet deep ditch filled with a dense growth of acacia. Within this area were villages separated by a marketplace, fields, several royal palaces, and a large square with the barracks. Each palace had a distinct design to suit the liking of the respective king. There was a first interior courtyard and a second interior courtyard. In 1894, the fire set by Bahanzan destroyed a lot save for Gliel and Gazo, which survived and were restored. They are now part of the Abomey Historical Museum. The bas reliefs that once decorated the palaces have been restored by the special efforts of the Getty Conservation Institute since 1993. Today, these palaces are roofed with corrugated iron sheets and have several crumbling mud walls. Make that stop there to see what remains of the once opulent kingdom. Number 4. The slave coast used to be on Benin's south coast. Ouidah is a commercial hub in the modern Benin and was one of the busiest ports for the transatlantic slave trade. Europeans referred to Ouidah's location in the Bight of Benin and the surrounding area as the Slave Coast, because of the region's significance in exporting labours from Africa to American markets. Before ceasing its trade in the 1860s, historians estimate that Ouidah alone exported more than 1 million Africans over the course of 2 centuries. There was only one other port in Africa that transported more slaves, and that was Luanda in Central Africa. Over 10,000 Africans were transported from Benin's southern coast to the Americas for more than a century, predominantly to Haiti and Brazil, but also to the United States. In 1885, the final of these ships sailed for Brazil. Even after the slave trade became increasingly outlawed after the early 19th century, Ouidah continued to be a significant source of slaves to Brazil in general and the region of Bahia in particular. One of the busiest ports for the trade in slaves in Africa was Ouidah. Visitors can now see the slave route, the Ouidah Museum of History, the Door of No Return, and numerous other memorials honoring people who were enslaved. For more than a century, the southern coast of Benin served as a significant slave departure site. Europeans, particularly the Portuguese, bought art, gold, ivory, and pepper. The nation became heavily involved in the slave trade in the early modern era. They would kidnap members of other gangs and sell them to customers in Europe. The Portuguese, particularly in Porto Novo, were instrumental in constructing human trafficking checkpoints. The significance of Benin's government greatly diminished with the end of the slave trade and the civil wars. The British successfully conquered Benin in 1897 and set Benin City on fire after being unable to withstand foreign invasion. Number 5. One of Africa's largest cotton producers. Benin is greatly a rural society. Agriculture supports more than 70% of its population. Agriculture contributes about 35% of the country's GDP and 80% of export income. Benin produces palm products, cocoa beans and textiles for export. Rice, corn, beans, cassava, yam, pineapples, cashews, peanuts and other tubers are grown for local consumption. Cotton accounts for 40% of Benin's GDP and about 80% official exports. Cotton is the principal cash crop. It is mainly exported as bales with just 3% of total production processed locally, mainly depending on world prices. Cotton seed production is concentrated in the north and center of Benin in an area called the Cotton Belt. It is grown also by small-scale farmers who then sell to ginning companies who transform it into cotton lint and/or produce products such as oil, cottonseed, and cake. Bilateral relations between Benin and China have been improving. China has been supporting Benin in improving the production of cotton. This sector provides a source of income to half of the country's population. Number 6 is Porto Novo or Cotonou, the capital of Benin. Despite Cotonou being the largest city in Benin and having the seat of government, where government buildings are situated and government departments operated, Porto Novo is the capital city of Benin. Porto Novo is of Portuguese origin meaning new port. It remains untranslated and is in French, which is the official language of Benin. The area covers 110 square kilometers and has a population of over 200,000 people. Porto Novo is a city situated on an inlet of the Gulf of Guinea in the southeastern part of the country. It is Benin's second largest city and was originally developed as a port for transatlantic trade carried out by the Portuguese Empire. Benin's parliament is in Porto Novo. The region around Porto Novo produces kapok, palm oil and cotton. Porto Novo has a cement factory, a market called Wando, and a branch of the Banque Internationale du Benin, a major bank in Benin. The city is served by an extension of the Benirail train system. Zemijan, privately owned motorcycles, are also available to take you around the city. If you fly into Benin, then you will most probably land at the Cotonou airport, 40 kilometers away. The residents of Porto Novo are mainly Yoruba and Gun people from other parts of Benin and the neighboring Nigeria. Porto Novo has a tropical savanna climate, so will consistently experience hot and humid conditions. The city is close to the equator but is drier than would be expected since it is located on the edge of the Dahomey Gap. Number 7. Benin Bronzes. These are a group of more than 1,000 metal plaques and sculptures that used to decorate the royal palace of the Kingdom of Benin, now called Nigeria. Other sculptures in brass or bronze include jewelry and portrait heads. All these objects form the best examples of Benin art created from the 13th century until much later by artists of the Edo people. Most plaques and other objects were looted by the British in 1897. About 200 pieces were taken to the British Museum in London, while others were taken to European museums, some to Germany and the United States. The Benin Bronzes led to a massive appreciation of African culture and art. Discoverers are said to have been surprised to see primitive people like Beninese making highly sophisticated objects like those. The pieces are referred to as Benin Bronzes, but they are made of brass. Others are made of a mixture of ivory, ceramic, wood, brass and bronze. Metal pieces were made using lost cast waxing technique. The Benin Bronzes were more naturalistic than most artistic pieces of the time. Their surfaces are designed to highlight contrasts between metal and light. Where are the Benin Bronzes now? Number 8. Cotonou, the economic hub of Benin. The word Cotonou means the mouth of the River of Death in the Fon language. Cotonou has a population of about 700,000 inhabitants, and it is the largest city in Benin. Cotonou is the major urban area in Benin and the country's economic center. The port city of Cotonou serves as the de facto capital of Benin. It is located along the Gulf of Guinea. Brewing, textile manufacturing, and palm oil processing are some of its industries. Cotonou is home to the president and the majority of the cabinet. Additionally, the city is home to the National University of Benin. Cotonou was formerly a part of the Dahomey Kingdom and serves as the beginning of the so-called Benin-Niger Railway, which travels 439 kilometers northward and ends at Parakou in the heart of Benin. It was founded by the French in 1894 and became a major trading center for palm oil, cotton, groundnuts, and cocoa beans. It was also home to a large slave trade during the 18th century. The French, Portuguese, Dutch, British, and Germans all had significant influence over the city at different points in history. The official language spoken in Cotonou is French, but there are many other languages that are spoken as well, such as Fon and Yoruba. Cotonou is one of the most ethnically diverse cities in Africa, with over 50 different ethnic groups living there. Number 9. Beverages in Benin. When you enter any Benin home, you will be offered a drink. You will be expected to take a sip as a sign of respect to your host. In the rural areas, the drinks are served in a calabash bowl and passed around to share. Available are alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks on the streets, sold just like Beninese food. Most of them are made in the homes of sellers using traditional filtering methods. The breweries are located in Cotonou south of Benin and Parakou north of Benin. This is a non-alcoholic drink made from dried hibiscus flowers boiled with sugar and several other herbs. It is also known as sorrel and it looks like cranberry juice. Bissap juice is high in vitamin C and is very refreshing. Sellers either make pops out of them or leave it as a juice. To add a little flavor, lemongrass or vanilla is added. This is a fermented corn drink that is distilled and bottled, usually processed in a wooden jar with lemongrass to give it an earthy flavor. It contains a low alcohol content and is refreshing and affordable. The drink can easily be found on the streets and is served cold. Number 10. Visit to the wild. Benin has 2 national parks within its borders, Penjari National Park bordering Burkina Faso and the West National Park that extends into Niger. The 2 parks are part of the second largest protected ecosystem in West Africa. This area covers 55,000 square kilometers with 12,000 square kilometers in Benin. These parks lie in one of the most humid ecosystems, with extensive biodiversity. The area has forests, plains, ponds, rivers, savanna, and swampy regions, dense dry forests and swampy plains. Animal life is abundant. Penjari National Park is especially known for its abundant bird life. You should visit to see the piapiac, fox kestrel, lavender waxbill and bearded barbet. Or you could visit the West National Park to see caracals, aardvarks, warthogs, monkeys, baboons, and the African cheetah and lion. Remember to take pictures to capture these unforgettable species. We have come to the end of the video. Do leave us a thumbs up as you consider visiting Benin. Until next time, bless.